I started to realize at that point how important mentors are to what we do. The current president was moving on, and I got a new boss. He's here today. He might even be in the room, Mr. Jim Zeminski, which is a huge mentor of mine. And got the opportunity to work under him for quite a while, and then move on to deciding to start coaching other companies to do what we did there at Able and Mr. Roof. So let's get into it. So you may feel a little bit attacked. One thing that, if you've ever heard me speak, I like to get a little bit loud, and I am in your face. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. So the next thing is does it shock you? Now, this may shock you that only 16% of companies know who their top performers are. Here's the thing, that their top performers are revenue generators, right? They're not profit generators, they're revenue generators. And they love talking about how this guy sold that $3 million. Let me tell you that a quick story, really quick, about a guy that I had. And his name was Dan. I'm not going to give you his last name. And everybody, when I joined in to Able Roof, they said, this is your guy. This, pound for pound, he's your top sales rep. And I'm seeing 58% close. I'm seeing all these numbers. The one number that I wasn't seeing, anybody want to take a guess to that? His profit percentage. I said, well, I'd like to see his profit percentage. His profit percentage was 18%. Good job, closer. He was no longer my top performer. How many of you skip that on the numbers that you look at? You probably look at it for the company, but do you look at it per rep to find out? Because we see companies like this. Not long ago, I went into a company, they're doing $40 million. There's a Lambo out front. You know, I couldn't wait to get into it because I don't have one. But then I get into their P&Ls, I'm like, $40 million? I don't think you've made money in 3 years. But he's going to these conferences like Conor McGregor. 82% of companies gauge their top performer based on their current top performer, who wouldn't even be looked at as a top performer in other organizations, resulting in low expectations. And then only 3% of companies move their underperformers out of the organization. Half the time, they take their underperformers and they just kind of move them to the side. Give them a lazy boy. We call these families. Sorry. Like I said, you're going to feel a little attacked. We call these families. Oh, man, he's like a brother to me. Man, I can't let him go. Then give him a lazy boy, put him in the corner so we can get back to work. Now, there's teams, and you have to earn the right to be on a team. What happens is, we were just talking about, the majors. What happens when they're not so great anymore? They don't get to stick around. So you need to decide today, are you a rec league? Everybody gets a shot. I was in an organization not long ago. I said, how do you give your leads out? He says, we do a round robin. I don't even know who Robin is. But that sounds like it sucks. I mean, come on. Rec league, everybody gets that shot. Or we can be a professional team. We can be a professional team. And you as owners get to make that decision today. Because you have to look at your team. Now, there are people that need to be retrained, and there are people that need to be successful someplace else. One of my other mentors, very close mentors, Brian Gottlieb, mentioned this yesterday. You are only, now I'm going to say it a little bit more plain than he did. You are only as good as your lowest performer. I go in and I work with sales leaders all over the country. Each year I work with close to 200 to 300 sales leaders. And the thing that I look at, I says, I want to know who your worst person is. And he looks at me, he's like, why? I says, because that's about as good as you are right now. And they're like, well, this meeting is going to be fun. I'm like, I just need you to understand who you're holding on to. I had there's a Columbus organization, very, very big. One of their managers played for Ohio State, big guy. He calls me crying. He says, Chuck, they're gonna let me go. And I says, why? He says, if I don't get my close rate, my team's close rate to 50%, that they're gonna let me go. I said, that's it? He said, what do you mean that's it? I said, can you give me the list of names of everybody that's under 50%? And he starts giving me these 3 names. I says, what are you gonna do with them? He says, you want me to let them go? I says, if they need it. I says, but if they need to be retrained, if you think you can save them, save them. But don't keep them around if they're just dead weight. Here's why. That person that you keep, everybody up here is watching them too. Say, hey, the worst I can do is that. Hey, if I screw up, at least I'm not like him. That's what they're thinking right now, because you're thinking, hey, what's the harm? It's big. It is big.